It is official, the strike is over, and I can talk about struck projects and struck companies again. I've literally been keeping a list of all the movies that I have wanted to talk about since the strikes began, and so I'm going to give you a quick 1 or 2 sentence review of each one, as well as a rating. Are you ready? Here we go. There's a lot to cover. I'm a latecomer to the Fast and Furious series. I only started watching them about a year and a half ago. My wife got me into them, and I really enjoy this series for how ridiculous it is. And Fast X is the culmination of all of that. It's a nonstop thrill ride, and while obviously, yes, it has its problems, it is exactly what it sets out to be, and I loved it, so I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. A lot of controversy and criticism around this movie. Some of it warranted, some of it not. I personally enjoyed the film. It is one of the better of the live-action remakes. The only live-action remake I have really enjoyed so far that Disney has put out has been Aladdin. The rest have been hot garbage. But yeah, I would put this one at a 7 out of 10 as well. Oh my gosh, Across the Spider-Verse, 10 out of 10. I cannot wait to see where this series is going next. It just builds on everything that the first one did right. It does a bunch of new stuff really well, and I absolutely loved it. Again, 10 out of 10. Transformers Rise of the Beasts, what can I say? This series has been really hit or miss. Bumblebee, to me, is the absolute best. I loved Bumblebee. I loved Haley Steinfeld's lead role in that. And this movie kind of does the same thing that all the other movies do, where the bad guys show up, they want to create a sky portal to make an even bigger bad guy show up to destroy the Earth, and then they get stopped. But this movie does some things really well and really fresh and new, and if this is truly the beginning of a new era, and it actually pays off what the cliffhanger of this movie sets up, then I think this could be the beginning of something really awesome. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for now, but that might change when future movies come out. The Flash. Oh gosh, what... I think everything that could be said about this movie has been said. Michael Keaton's Batman returning is great, but they don't do anything really that fantastic with him. Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman, so it was awesome to see him in the cape and cowl again, but the CG, I don't care if it's supposed to be a warped perspective. I don't believe that answer. It just looked unfinished and unpolished. The only place that I enjoyed the CG style was within the chronosphere, or whatever they're calling that, because it's supposed to be surreal. I get that, but the weird baby shower scene in the beginning was just ugly. And also, it's bad enough to have to sit through a movie with Ezra Miller in it, but having 2 Ezra Millers, one of them that has just complete crackhead energy that is not funny or enjoyable to watch, this movie gets like a 3 out of 10 for me. Elemental, beautiful world, beautiful story. Pixar is back at its best. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny did everything that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull couldn't. It felt like an old-fashioned Indiana Jones adventure, and I loved it. Helena Shaw, this new character they introduced, was fantastic, and I would love to see some movies of her own. It was spectacular, and I'm kind of bummed that it is the last of the Indiana Jones films. 10 out of 10 from me. Oppenheimer. Now, I might be a little biased because I did see it in IMAX, and that really does enhance the experience. So I am giving it a 10 out of 10. And honestly, the scene where the first bomb goes off, the Trinity test, made my jaw drop. I was expecting it to be this big spectacle of light and sound, but what Christopher Nolan did with that scene, pure art. Barbie the movie. If you told me the movie that was going to give me the most existential dread this year was going to be the Barbie movie, I would have told you you're crazy. But this movie was hilarious. The music was great. It was well acted, well written, well directed. Everything about this movie was fantastic, and I just have to give it a 9 out of 10. I know I'm giving a lot of high ratings, but there's so many good movies that came out during the strikes. Haunted Mansion. Honestly, I was severely disappointed. The Haunted Mansion ride is one of my favorites, and the lore behind the ride is so rich and detailed, it bums me out that they got it so wrong for this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, the acting was amazing. Everyone played their parts to perfection, and the new characters were great, and they were well written. It was a well-written movie. But my biggest gripe of the film is what they did to Constance Hatchaway. They turned her into just a screeching, yelling poltergeist who I don't even think has any lines, when she should have been the most devious, cunning, and intelligent ghost in the bunch. Now, the Hatbox Ghost is my second favorite ghost behind Ezra. It bums me again that the hitchhiking ghosts are just put to the back burner when you literally have a plot point in this movie about ghosts going home and haunting people at their own homes. That is the literal function of the hitchhiking ghosts in the ride. Why didn't you use them for that? Instead, you use ghosts that no one's heard of. So, this movie had a lot of wasted potential, but the movie itself, if you're not a huge fan of the lore like me, you're probably going to love it. So, my unbiased rating, probably an 8 out of 10, but because I'm just a huge fan of the lore, 5 out of 10. TMNT. Honestly, this one surprised me a lot. I thought I was going to hate it. I only watched it because I kind of felt I had to watch it because I do love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When I first heard those squeaky voices coming out of the Turtles, I thought, is this going to play? But it played. My one gripe is the character designs. They are grotesque at times. A lot of the human characters look like background Rick and Morty characters with the way their faces are all misshapen. And also, I got that they were going for a stylistic look. And it was very unique, but I felt it could have been handled a little better. It felt messy visually, but the movie itself, the plot, the characters, the voice acting, very well done. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Quiz Lady. This is the most recent movie I've seen and the last one I am going to talk about. This movie was surprisingly good. Now, I love Awkwafina. I enjoy everything I have seen her in. She is one of my favorite comedians out there right now. I did not expect this movie to be as good as it was going to be because it was a straight to Hulu release. I thought it was going to be a raunchy rated R comedy, which I'm not a big fan of, but it was Awkwafina, who's one of my favorite comedians, and Sandra Oh, who's one of my wife's favorite actors, so we had to watch it. Honestly, this movie did not need to be rated R. It was rated R because of 3 F-bombs, and there was no crude humor, like nothing graphically violent, and not a lot of language in it. It was actually a really great movie about family. And so if you haven't had a chance to watch it, or the rating is making you nervous about watching because you don't like raunchy comedies, I promise you, this movie will surprise you. It is a 9 out of 10. It's great. Now, a lot of you might have noticed I did not talk about Blue Beetle in this video, and before the strikes happened, you all know how excited I was for Blue Beetle, because, I am one of them stealth Chicanos. I know that I said that in the widest way possible, but I am half Mexican, and I was really excited to see a Mexican superhero. I'm a big fan of George Lopez, and I enjoyed this movie, but I did not want to do it an injustice by talking about it piled on with a bunch of other movies. So I will get to Blue Beetle, I promise. I just wanted to talk about it in more detail and do it justice. So hold with me. Next couple days, a Blue Beetle review will be coming out. So that is it. That is every movie I saw during the strikes and a quick review about them. I'm sure I'll be making other videos about them soon, but I just had to get this out of my system now that the strikes are over. I am so excited to get back to my regular content. Let's frickin' go!